nothing but a guitar. You never talk about your family, your past.
People make up their past, Sylvie. They remember what they want. They forget the rest.
Hello out there, one and all those great people out there in the great lands and lands. Welcome to an all-new video. In this video, we're going to be doing a movie review of a new film that just came out the end of December and is a biopic on the great rock and roll folklore legend. So we're going to get right into that. Before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this video and the other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Patreon. Pretty much post on those regularly, so definitely check them out. And as always, people, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all-new video. So like I was saying before, we're doing a movie review of a new film that just came out at the end of December. And is a biographical film on a folklore rock legend called A Complete Unknown. Yeah, A Complete Unknown, yeah. So A Complete Unknown is a biographical film about the early days of the folklore rock musician Bob Dylan. Now, if you're not familiar with Bob Dylan, he pretty much became super big in the mid-60s and kind of, through the years just became considered a folklore kind of rock legend. And, a lot of his songs, like a Rolling Stone and stuff like that, have become super popular. But his early days was kind of an interesting history, and that's kind of what this movie is about. Now, this film happens to be directed none other by a gentleman that goes by the name of Mr. James Mangold. Oh yeah, Mangold. Woo, James Mangold. Woo, yeah. So James Mangold, who is, directed such films as Logan and other films that have been considered huge hits, is just a really great director. I've always enjoyed pretty much what he's made. He always makes films very interesting, and also he has a really good eye for giving us these weird and offbeat type of films, but also by giving us some really great creative ideas and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what he did with A Complete Unknown. I thought he did a really good job of giving us a really solid, biographical film on the early years of Bob Dylan. And he really got really good performances by all of his actors and actresses throughout the film. He really had a great eye for what songs to use and how to really bring them in. The vocaling coach and the dialect coach that they got for this film, he really was on point with getting that person to give, Chalamet and all the other actors who actually sang their songs in this film on point as well. And I think that was a really interesting, idea to have all of them actually sing in it, not be the actual original recordings. And I was really impressed with everyone and how they all sang in the film, and they all did a really amazing job. Once again, showing that, James has a really good eye for grabbing talent for his films. And I really enjoyed, all the different aspects that, James brought to the film, giving us really great scenery of New York in the 60s, giving us really great view of the venue where the folklore, festival they had for many years in New York, and all that kind of stuff. And just James had a really great idea and just really brought it to life and give us a really great idea of what, the biography that this film is based off of. And I just thought that James did a really good job of giving us a really solid film that not only was very entertaining, but very informative too on, those of us that might not have known a lot about Bob Dylan. I really appreciated all the great information that we learned about him, and I thought it was really well executed by James. Now, if you haven't seen anything else James Mangold has directed, definitely a great film to check out of his, and is one of my favorites. Is a great remake he did back in the early 2000s called 310 to Yuma. Yeah, 310 to Yuma. Yeah, so this is a remake of a great film that came out back in the 50s and is just a really solid Western film. It stars Russell Crowe, Christian Bale. It has huge, great cast of young actors at the time and, seasoned veterans at the time. And James just did a great job of giving us this really solid remake that had a lot of great action sequences, great story that really embellished and really made the actual original film just as enjoyable. And I really enjoyed all kind of the things that he added to it to give it even more kind of action-packed and make it even more entertaining than the original film. And the original film was really done well, too, as well. I've seen it, and I really enjoyed it. But this one really took everything to the new levels. And James just did a great job of getting all the actors to give us these really great performances. And he just had a really great idea of the different cinematography and areas that they chose to film in and all that kind of stuff that I thought he did really well. If you haven't seen 3:10 to Yuma for James Mangold's directing, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. A really good film and really well directed by James. If you haven't seen anything else by Mangold, definitely go check out A Complete Unknown in theaters now. He did a phenomenal job with it, really enjoyed it, and I just think overall he did a fantastic job giving us an amazing biopic. If you haven't seen anything, like I said, go check out A Complete Unknown in theaters now. Worth the watch. So this movie has a really great cast, lots of great people that brought really great performances to the characters, and all of them made it very entertaining, very enjoyable, and I thought did a really great justice for all these people that they're supposed to be playing. And I was really impressed with the majority of the people in this film because they all were just super fantastic and super impressive with all their musical abilities and their singing in this film, especially with these songs that are already known as classics. They really brought a great new edge to them and really, did them justice. And, they sounded just as good as the originals. And I think that, majority of these, actors and actresses just really brought to life their characters that were just super interesting people as well. Now, to start us off is none other than Bob Dylan himself in the film, Mr. Timothy Chalamet. Oh yeah, Timothy Chalamet. Woo, Timothy Chalamet. Yeah. So Timothy Chalamet, who plays Bob Dylan in the film, was absolutely fantastic in this film. If you haven't seen him in anything else, you should definitely check him out in other things because he is just an amazing talent. And I remember watching him years ago in some things and going, I feel like he is going to be a really great star. And I know a lot of people were hyping him up when he was in Call Me By Your Name and stuff like that. And, at first I was like, oh no, I hope he's not just another one of those, overrated actors. But after I saw him in a few different things, I understood why everyone thought he was such a great actor and that he had some really great acting chops. And I really have come to appreciate his acting and kind of what he brings to it, and you just really always kind of enjoy him. You fall in love with his characters, and you find him very interesting and just you feel like he's that character. And I just think he's a really great talent that I foresee, 20, 30 years from now still being huge and people wanting to watch him because I think he's that talented, and I enjoy pretty much any role he's ever been in and just think he's really fantastic. And what he did with the Bob Dylan character, he really, I felt, personified that character. And I really enjoyed just all the different things he learned to be as much as like Bob Dylan as he could. And I think even Bob Dylan himself was very impressed with what Timothy did with it, with his characterization of him. And even the look was, kind of similar. He doesn't really look like Bob Dylan that much. He's a more attractive guy, but at the same time, he personified him throughout the film very well. Like, you really felt you were watching Bob Dylan in his 20s in this film. And the hair and the outfits he wore were very, very on point of what Dylan wore. And I just was really impressed with that. And I thought Timothy just did a great job of exuding that and giving us a really powerful performance that I foresee definitely be, award nomination worthy. And I think that he has a good chance of winning an Oscar this year just for how good he was in the film. Now, if you haven't seen anything else Chalamet has been in, definitely another great film to check him out in, and that I think is just a really fantastic film and is probably one of my favorite performances of his, and really the first film that really got me to enjoy his acting. It's a great film that came out in 2019 called Little Women. Yeah! Little Women, yeah! Little Women is one of those films where I wasn't too sure because I absolutely loved the 1994 one with Winona Ryder and, all the greats that were around at that time. We had Christian Bale in the film. We had a whole bunch of people. And I just remember thinking, like, oh, I hope that this remake is decent and comparable to that. And, like, it doesn't do too much like what's in that, but makes it its own, but at the same time gives great, reference to the original and shows that they're two different films that are about the same material, but they're both good in their own right. And that's what that film did, and it really exuded with Timothée Chalamet's characterization in the film. I really appreciated his take on the Christian Bale character from the 1994 one, and I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I just absolutely love this dude. I think he's so cool. I think he's awesome. I love his interpretation of this character, and I loved his relationships throughout the film with the other characters and how they grew and how they blossomed, and I just thought he did such a great job of giving us a really great interpretation of that character, from Little Women, the book. And I just remember thinking that, wow, this guy is going to be a star. I'm like, I never saw him in the other film, Call Me By Your Name, but I remember watching him in that going, oh my gosh, this guy is really good. I can see why he did so well in that other film. And I just remember thinking, I can't wait to see him in other things because I think he really has a really great talent, and he's proven me that I was correct. And in Little Women, he really produced that by giving us a really solid character that was super enjoyable. If you haven't seen Timothée Chalamet in anything else, definitely check him out in Little Women. Profound performance by him and just so well done. Really great film. Definitely check that out for his performance. But if you haven't seen him anything recently as well, definitely check him out in A Complete Unknown. He was absolutely fantastic as Dylan. I really enjoyed him. His singing was phenomenal, and I just really thought he did a great job of bringing this great story of the early 60s Bob Dylan to life, and he just was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen him recently, go check him out in A Complete Unknown in theaters now. Totally worth the watch. So that brings me to the next person I'd like to talk about that was in this film, and that is none other than another great musician of his time, Mr. Pete Seeger, and that happened to be played by Mr. Edward Norton. Oh yeah, Edward Norton. Woo, Edward Norton, yeah. So Edward Norton plays Pete Seeger in this film, who was also a folklore legend and folklore artist, and was a huge prolific person in the folklore until his death in 2014. And Edward Norton is such a great actor. I remember seeing him in Primal Fear, knowing that this man was going to be a phenomenal actor. At that time, he hadn't done Fight Club yet. He hadn't done, A Beautiful Mind. He hadn't done a whole bunch of things that he's got done over the years, and just has really proven him to be a really fantastic actor. And his performance in Primal Fear, really showed how talented he was, and that he could pretty much play anybody. And he proved that in A Complete Unknown as Pete Seeger. And I really enjoyed him as Pete Seeger. I love the persona he, gave of this character, and kind of giving us an idea of who Pete Seeger was. Because he has been dead for the last 10 years. I'm sure a lot of people that knew him and, grew up with him, Dylan, and all the people that he worked with and stuff like that, I'm sure, have a certain kind of idea of how he was. And, from what I've seen and what I've read, everyone says that Norton did a great job of giving that real personification of who Pete Seeger was. And he just was so amazing, and you loved him, and you liked him, and you felt for him, and you just felt how, he was trying to keep pure to the folklore. At the same time, he understood change. And you can see that, and Edward Norton did such a great job of, giving us a perception of that and performing that throughout the film. And some of his songs that he sang in the film were just so well executed and so well done, and Ed sounded so amazing singing those songs too, and I was really impressed with his singing. I was like, wow, he actually sounds like a real singing person, or singing legend, I should say. And I was just really impressed with everything Edward did with the film, and just giving us this really great kind of take on Pete Seeger in the 60s. And I just thought that he overall did just an amazing job that really was entertaining, enjoyable, and really brought the film to life, and given us a great accompaniment with Timothée Chalamet's version of Bob Dylan. And I just really appreciated how his character also kind of evolved throughout those years and in the early years of Dylan's career, and kind of how he was and kind of where he was trying to go, and how he was trying to use Bob Dylan to kind of help him get people to want to come to the folklore festivals. And I thought that was a really interesting take as well. And just Edward did such a great job of bringing that to life, giving us a really solid performance. Now, if you haven't seen Edward Norton in anything, definitely a film to check him out in, and one of my favorites of his. That is just a fantastic film that he absolutely kicked butt in and just played to the T. And then, of course, the film called Fight Club. Oh, yeah! Fight Club! Yeah! The aforementioned Fight Club I mentioned. He was just absolutely phenomenal in that film. Being supposedly he's schizophrenic. And, Brad Pitt is completely a figment of his imagination. And his performance in that film was just so on point and so well executed. And just really, once again, really encouraged and really showed and shined how good of an actor he is and how he can play schizophrenic type of people, having multiple personalities and stuff like that, and just showing a person that might have insomnia, or somebody that's an insomniac, or somebody that has these connections that he doesn't realize he has, and all this kind of stuff that just really felt natural. It didn't feel like he was acting. It felt like he really was that character. And that's just how good Edward Norton is at portraying characters, and he really proved that in Fight Club. If you haven't seen Edward Norton or anything, definitely check out his performance in Fight Club. He was absolutely fantastic in that. Phenomenal. Just really well executed. But like I was saying, I really enjoyed him in A Complete Unknown. He was absolutely fantastic and a great addition to the cast. And like I said, if you haven't seen him recently, go check him out in A Complete Unknown now. He was absolutely phenomenal and fantastic, and just was a really great addition to that cast. Like I said, go check him out now in theaters. So that brings me to the final actress I'd like to talk about that was in this film. And that, of course, is the amazing and wonderful Miss Ella Fanning! Oh yeah! Ella Fanning! Woo! Ella Fanning! Yeah! So Ella Fanning you might recognize from a slew of films over the years, starting off at a really young age, being the younger sister of course, Dakota Fanning, who was super huge when she was a youth too as well, and has done stuff in adulthood, just like Ella really has gotten into adult films, doing adult film type of things over the years. Ella Fanning is just really fun. I've enjoyed her and watching her, grow from, an adolescent actress to, a adult actress. And, she really has, I think, really developed into a really great actress over the years. And I remember watching her in Super 8 and thinking, she actually has some good qualities. She could be a decent actress. And I always felt that her sister was a little overrated, and I think Ella has a lot better acting skills than her sister does. And so I think she really proved it in this film, portraying the character she does. Now, Ella Fanning's character in this film is actually based off of a real character in Bob Dylan's life, but they changed the name in the film to protect that person. But what she portrayed in the film, I thought was just really well done. I enjoyed it. I thought she was a really great, interesting character, and I thought that Ella really brought it to life, giving us an idea of who this character really was in real life and to Bob Dylan. And I really appreciated just kind of how she really brought to life, kind of those feelings that this person supposedly had, with Bob Dylan. And kind of how she, she was kind of, his first kind of love, and he always kind of loved her, but she kind of got pushed to the side as he went on and had relationships with other people. And, unfortunately, she kind of was always kind of in his life, but kind of ended up getting completely pushed out, and when she kind of was able to return, she decided she just couldn't do it. Was, I thought, a really great way of showing how the character, grew as a person, and kind of how she realized, that, Bob would really never give her full attention, but that she, was just kind of something added to Bob Dylan's life, which, really he's married to his career. And I enjoyed what Ella did with that and how she gave it and how she performed it. And she just did a really great job. And I really enjoyed her. I thought she just was really good. I thought she was a fantastic as this character. And I was really impressed with her performance in the film. And I think it added a lot of great, acting bravado to the film. And I just think she was a really great addition that really enriched the film and gave us a really good idea of kind of, once again, that portion of Bob Dylan's early career. Now, if you haven't seen Ella Fanning in anything, definitely a great film to check her out in. And I think is one of my favorites of hers. I think she's really good in it. And I think it really, kind of spawned kind of her more going towards more of her adult career. Is a great film that came out in 2014 called Maleficent. Yeah! Maleficent! Yeah! So Maleficent is a great film take on the great bad guy character from Sleeping Beauty, portrayed by Angelina Jolie, and Ella Fanning plays one of the main characters in the film that is kind of like Maleficent's daughter almost. She's like a surrogate daughter, basically. And Ella was just really fantastic, and I really enjoyed her character. I thought that she brought a really great funness to her character. And I just think her and Angelina Jolie just worked out really well together and provided a really great, almost felt like a real motherly and daughter vibe. And I think just Ella really showed kind of where she was going and how she had a lot of great talent to show, and that I think she really felt real. She really felt like that character, and I think she did a good job of portraying that and giving us a really great kind of evolution of the character that just was really thought out and played out really well by her in the film. If you haven't seen anything Ella Fanning's in, definitely check her out in Maleficent. She did a really great job. But overall, I really enjoyed her in A Complete Unknown, and I think she was just a really great addition to that great cast. If you haven't seen her recently or anything, go check her out in A Complete Unknown now. She was really fantastic. So what is A Complete Unknown about? Basically, the premise of the story is it's basically showing you Bob Dylan's career from the start in the early 60s, 62, I think, 61, up to kind of his exit of kind of being just folklore natural to evolving into electric guitar folklore in 1965 when he did his last folklore performance at the folklore festival that he was a part of for the first 4 years of his career. And basically it's kind of his opening story of how he came to New York and kind of what led him to becoming super popular in the mid-60s. It's a really fantastically done film. I think Mangold did a great job with it. He did a phenomenal job bringing this to life. Had great supporting actors throughout the whole entire film. Dan Folger was amazing in it. Boyd Holbrook playing Johnny Cash was done really well. The gal that played Joan Baez was really good. And everyone in it was just really well constructed and just a really fantastic film that was just super enjoyable and a really great biopic film. Music was phenomenal. The scenery was amazing, and everything about it looked so authentic, and it felt like it really was the 60s. It was just really fun. If you haven't seen it yet, A Complete Unknown, highly recommend go check it out in theaters now. Giant 10 Goldie movie boxes up. Can't wait to add it to the collection. Lots of great songs in it. I highly recommend check out the soundtrack as well. It just was really beautifully created and given us a really great new take on these great classics. If you haven't seen A Complete Unknown yet, go check it out in theaters now. Worth a watch. Great freaking movie. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Also, thank you for subscribing. And if this is your first time here, or you have been here before, don't forget to check out any older new videos you might not see mine yet. As always, people, if you want to enjoy my content here and want to show support for the channel, please check out my awesome Patreon page where you can get all kinds of extra accoutrement right there on my Patreon, where you get outtakes, bloopers, outtakes, all that kind of cool stuff. Says and what I do next, all that kind of stuff, recommendations, all that kind of cool stuff. So definitely check that out. As always, people, catch you in the next one.